class always very closely fought, and today will be no exception. Last year's championship winner Steve Hislop away on European Championship duty. In pole position, however, Kevin Mitchell, number 8, a newcomer, number 34, Paul Brown. You know as much about him as I do, just watch for him. And Alan Carter, riding number 2 on the Honda, will be very, very keen to grab the win. Ian McConaughey also was moving through from a good position on the front row, but it's Carter who hits the whole shot from the word go. So going into Rich's corner, 15 laps ahead of these boys, all of them on brand new 1991 machinery, with the exception of poor old Ian McConaughey, who's riding his last year's Aprilia, and I'll tell you a bit more about that as we go deeper into the race. Steve, Yamaha have virtually pulled out of 250cc Grand Prix racing. That looks as though that was Carter going backwards.
That was Alan Carter, I'm sure. He'd got the whole shot, he got a tremendous start, but he's seized. I think the engine seized, or something dramatic's happened because he's pulled out.
Well, there's action from the word go. So number 2, Alan Carter, on the RS 250, the Silcoline Honda is out of the proceedings. It stopped in a big way on the back straight, and Carter's race is over.
And we also have a faller here.
That's from St Neots Motorcycles. Steve Sawford from Sandy in Bedfordshire is off the bike. Away, though, at the front of the pack, number 34, Paul Brown. Now, Steve Parrish, tell us a little bit about this newcomer. He's a protege of Rob McElnay, I understand.
That's right. There's Steve Sawford. He's OK, so that's great news. The race will continue. But Paul Brown is, yes, very much a newcomer. He's in his second season of racing. Unbelievable result. He qualified second fastest this morning in time practice. He's a protege of Rob McElnay, trains with Rob McElnay, as fitness is a great part of motorcycle racing, and he has a great future in front of him. He's actually storming away.
Well, unbelievable stuff from this young man. He's come up really from a season of club racing. He won some club meetings last year. He won his first national at the end of last year at Cadwell Park, but here he is in full national competition. In fact, the 250cc Chalon Supercup is the prime event in the 250cc British calendar, and this youngster is winning it. He's going in great style. 22 years of age, Paul Brown, from Scunthorpe in South Humberside. And what a great talent. I think we're looking at somebody with a very bright future, Steve.
Well, when Paul qualified as quick as he did, a lot of people said, oh, it's a flash in the pan, but he's proven that's not the case. He rode, I watched him this morning, he's riding with great style. He's actually using Kevin Schwantz's number and Kevin Schwantz's replica helmet, so perhaps that tells us something. But yeah, panel beater by trade, and if he can just stay in that position, he's made a name for himself here today.
OK, let me give you a rundown then on the top 6. So Paul Brown it is leading, number 34. In second place, it's the Grand Prix campaigner, the very experienced Kevin Mitchell from Burton-on-Trent. In third place, it's number 14. That's Adrian Clark from Langley Mill in Nottinghamshire. That's Ron Haslam's hometown. And in fourth place, it's Paul Lewis, the 7 times Australian champion, on a 250 today and going well. John Gainey, Ron Haslam's nephew, riding number 18, is in 5th. And in 6th place, number 9, Paul Buller from Market Harborough in Leicestershire. That completes the top 6 as 34, Paul Brown storms on. Steve, an amazing performance from this young man.
Yeah, terrific performance. Kevin Mitchell is actually closing the gap. The advantage that he had on the first lap has been closed up. His lead's eroding away at the moment, but then that's no problem. Kevin Mitchell's a great rider, and it won't do him any harm at all to even follow Kevin.
Alan Carter is back on and running. I can see Alan Carter there. Number 2 is the 3rd man in your picture there. He's behind Paul Lewis. So whatever it was that slowed Alan Carter, he's right there now with Woolsey Coulter. There was a lot of activity on the first lap, but whatever befell Alan Carter has cleared itself. We thought, or maybe Steve Parrish thought, it could have been a seizure. It doesn't look as though it was a seizure, Steve.
No, the only other possibility I can think of it is a fuel starvation, a fuel blockage. It's possible that even the mechanics could have turned the fuel off while they were waiting on the line. There's something as silly as that can stop you. But he is now in 6th position, Alan Carter, and he'll be charging, but there's a massive gap between him and the 5th place man for him to catch up.
Now, keep your eyes on the number 2 rider at the head of this trio, because that is the runner-up in the 250cc Super Cup competition last year. Number 2, Alan Carter from Halifax, one of the bright brightest talents on the 250cc British national scene, obviously bidding to get back into Grand Prix, back into European competition. He's got an awful lot of work to do. We'd written him off from this race because he retired or semi-retired on the first lap, but here he is now in 6th place behind Woolsey Coulter and really going well.
I expect to see Alan Carter putting the fastest lap in very shortly. He does look like he's trying. It's probably made him mad, the fact that the machine problem happened on that first lap as he was leading, so he'll be riding with a lot of aggression. He's really charging through.
Up to 4th as we speak. Alan Carter now in 4th. He's gone past Paul Lewis. He's gone past Woolsey Coulter. The gap now between the race leader, Kevin Mitchell, who has gone out into the front while we've been focusing on this rapid progression by Alan Carter, the gap between them is only 6 seconds, and there's a long way to go, still in excess of 9 laps left. So it's on the card, Steve, isn't it?
It certainly is, and as we speak also, he puts in the fastest lap, a 1:14.73. Very, very fast lap from Alan Carter. Perhaps this was a staged affair from Alan Carter. He wanted to be noticed coming through the back. I don't think so, but he's doing a great job, and there is a possibility that he can win this race.
Kevin Mitchell out in front, number 8, from Burton-on-Trent on the Med Builders Yamaha. That's the new configuration TZ 250, which is a V configuration, and if you don't know what that means, it means one cylinder points down at the road and the other one points up in the air in a V form, so that is very like the YZR Yamaha factory bikes of last year. But I was saying quickly to Steve Parrish, Yamaha virtually pulled out of 250 road racing.
They don't have a factory team anymore since John Kaczynski has moved up into the 500 class with Kenny Roberts. Now there is no factory 250 Yamaha out in the Grand Prix, apart from they did run one in Japan.
So would it be true to say, Steve, that the sort of Yamaha then that Kevin Mitchell is riding is about as near to a works bike as we can get?
Yes, that's right. A lot of teams, private teams, do their own modifications, their own tuning, which is also done by Kevin Mitchell. He does run in the Grand Prix with this machine, so it will be very well set up, and it's performing extremely well at this moment. He's dropped Paul Brown back a bit here now. There's a real battle on for 3rd place.
Well, number 14, Adrian Clark from Langley Mill on another Yamaha is really delivering the goods, and I have to confess that that's a relatively new name to me, and I've no doubt that we'll be seeing more of Adrian Clark in Super Cup competition. But Alan Carter now only 5.9 seconds adrift, so he's winding him in. He's taken a second out of Kevin Mitchell's lead in the last lap. So really moving forward now, Alan Carter. All eyes on this man. This is the battle for 2nd and 3rd place. Number 34, Paul Brown, the startling newcomer, with his first national win, Cadwell Park, March 1991. What a great, great season this young man has ahead of him. But 62 wins and 4 club championships in 1990. Almost half distance then. And Kevin Mitchell will be getting very clear pit signals from his crew that Alan Carter is the danger man and is looming very large in his... If he had rear view mirrors, they would be in the rear view mirrors, but I don't suppose that Kevin Mitchell is going to be looking over his shoulder too much.
No, he'll be looking closely at his pit board as he crosses the start and finish line, where they'll be hanging out, and a bit of a problem there. But Adrian Clark, number 14, he only qualified down in 16th position, so he's found a lot of speed whilst we're in the race, and he's having a great ride here, trying to pass Paul Brown.
Martin Jutt also having a very good ride in his first season in the Mick Grant Suzuki team. But we're watching now Woolsey Coulter. We are watching Paul Lewis, number 10, who's right in behind him. Paul Lewis, who's ridden a variety of machinery. He's not very big, but he can handle a 750 with equal ability, but he's certainly suited to the 250, and that's what he was so good at in his homeland of Australia. Here in the UK, he's had a fair amount of success, and he was tipped as one of the hot shots 2 seasons ago, Steve, but then it all went wrong for Paul Lewis.
Yeah, Paul Lewis doesn't seem to have a lot of luck, and you're right, he rides anything. He'll actually, on Bank Holiday Monday, will be riding in the transatlantic team at Brands Hatch on a 750, so he can adapt to virtually anything, and he is very, very tiny, which does suit the 250 class. Number 51, we have a faller there. That's Alan Patterson. Alan Patterson, the 125 guy that rode so well earlier here today. He's had a fall, but it was probably on the cards.
if he rode the 250 with the same amount of effort that he put into the 125, then that's obviously the reason for that. So we'll give you an update on Patterson, but the machine looked to be not too badly damaged and the rider appeared to be okay. So it was in the sand trap, but the red flag is out. The red flag is out at the start-finish. The 250cc race is to be stopped. The red flag is out and riders are stopping as they come up to the line. Kevin Mitchell will be the first to get the flag. As the riders line up for the restart of the 250, let me tell you quickly that Alan Patterson, the rider for whom the race was stopped, walked away from the circuit uninjured, just a little knocked about. But the riders form up on the front line in the positions they were at the stoppage, which means that Alan Carter, number 2, gets a second bite of the cherry alongside Kevin Mitchell, number 8, the man who was leading the race at the time. So away they go again. Mitchell had an awful start. He was very slow away, 8 laps to do, and Carter hits the front. A beautiful hole shot on the RS 250 Honda for Alan Carter, the Team Silkaleen man, hitting the front and making no mistakes this time. Steve, a peculiar mechanical problem. Tell us about it.
Yes, as we see one rider disappearing across the field, but that's the beauty of Snetterton, because you can go across the field. But yes, Alan Carter got a terrific start, and then he managed to knock the kill switch off, the ignition switch off on the handlebar. So it was self-inflicted, but he's kicking himself a little bit because he's got a lot of work to do. He needs to be a fair way in front to win this race on aggregate.
Aggregate, the key word, the man who went grass-cutting, number 55. That's Paul Street from Bromley in Kent taking the short way home, but he's certainly out of leg 2, or should I say part 2 of the 15-lap 250cc race. So 7 laps to do when they come over the line this time. Alan Carter leads. That looks like Woolsey Coulter tucked in, or Paul Brown. I'll try and identify them as they come round, but it's Woolsey Coulter, number 3. So Woolsey Coulter in very close company indeed. So the Ulsterman on the Queen's University Belfast Yamaha. In third place, it's number 14. Another flying start for Adrian Clark from Langley Mill. These 3 then stretching out the gap. It's Paul Brown in 4th, number 34. So Woolsey Coulter having a better go this time round, Steve, and these 2 now opening up some sort of gap.
That's right, they are, and as I say, they'll be very, very keen to get away because they need to have some distance. The leader of the last lap will be chasing through, but Alan Carter, oh, we have another faller here. This is another one that's gone off at Sears Corner, luckily again into the field.
Meanwhile, Woolsey Coulter's Yamaha very fast indeed. It's close right on the back of Alan Carter's Honda now. Carter flicking it left and then right, the knees on the tarmac. So number 32 it was who went across the gravel, Alexander Berry from Halifax. As the race goes on in glorious sunlight here at Snetterton, just a few miles south of Norwich alongside the A11. It's one of the big, wide, open airfield circuits. Very fast indeed, but they've built the chicane in recent years. Russell's Bend it's called. It's a right, a left and a right flick. Prior to that, the circuit was very fast along the start-finish straight. Not altogether popular with the riders, that bend.
No, that's right. It slowed the course up a great deal, but it was done for safety reasons. But a lot of the riders did like the old part, the very, very fast Russell's Corner. But if you had a moment there that it could be extremely dangerous, so for safety reasons it was made a lot tighter. It was even modified again this year.
Number 34, Paul Brown, is up to third as Woolsey Coulter, number 3, makes a bid for the lead. He's alongside Alan Carter out of the slipstream. Carter holds him out on the brakes going into there. You're not having any of that, old son, he said, but Coulter fights back, a magnificent move. He's inside up the S's, heading up now towards the bum hole, up through the gearbox. Second, third gear around here, 90 miles an hour on these 250s. So a tremendous tussle between Woolsey Coulter and Alan Carter, numbers 3 and 2. Those are the positions they finished in the Super Cup Championship in 1990. Carter was runner-up to his teammate Steve Hislop, who is away on European Championship duty at Jarama in Spain, and I'm reliably informed that just prior to this meeting, he finished in 3rd place.
That's correct. He got 3rd place in the Jarama round of the European Championship, the 2nd round of the Championship. So Steve Hislop's looking set for a good position this year in the European Championship Series. But where is Kevin Mitchell? He's the man that was leading the race before it was stopped. He needs to be up with Alan Carter if he's going to take it overall. down in 9th position, Kevin Mitchell, so he has a problem. There's no way I think he can win this on aggregate.
Aggregate, of course, being the all-important word, because the times from this part of the race will be taken and added to the times to the first half, and it is that overall standing on times. Alan Carter certainly is in with a chance, but we can't write off Woolsey Coulter because he was consistently quick in the first leg.
That's right. It's once again, it's going to be down to the timekeepers at the end. They will add the 2 times together, and then we will have an overall winner.
The points for each Super Cup race, I remind you, 20 points now for the win, unlike 10 from last season, so it's 20 for the win. The second place man will get 17, third place man 15, then it goes 13, 11, 10, 9, all the way down to 1 point for 15th place, and those points are available at each and every round. So Carter now, with his head down, if he's leading on aggregate, is on target for 20 points. But aggregate is the all-important word, and we have to wait until we get an update on the caption to let you know. We're looking for number 8. There's Kevin Mitchell from Burton-on-Trent, the man who led the first half before the stoppage. So a lot for him to do, Steve, an almost impossible task.
Yeah, I don't understand. He got a pretty poor start, but I'm very surprised that he's not coming through, because his lap times he was doing in the first part of this race would have taken him past the people that he's mixing it with here now. So the aggregate at the moment is Kevin Mitchell still in front, Alan Carter in second position, Paul Brown in third, Adrian Clark fourth, Woolsey Coulter and Paul Lewis. So it's still down to the timekeepers at the finish of this race.
Looking now, number 9 going through Paul Booler, who's motoring well. Paul Lewis, number 10, also moving through very well. Has gone from 8th to 5th place, Paul Lewis, but this is the 1 and 2 in the race. Alan Carter, number 2, on the Silkaleen Honda. A 25-year-old from Halifax, 26, I beg your pardon. 25 he was last year, and we all age. There's number 10, Paul Lewis. Right, there's Kevin Mitchell, number 8, in the thick of the traffic. So a few useful men in front of Mitchell, but he does seem to be moving forward now.
Yeah, he is gradually pulling his way through there, and it is very difficult. These bikes are very evenly matched, and nobody has a real big horsepower advantage, but he just needs to get through that pack.
Alan Carter, number 2, still with Woolsey Coulter stalking him. Aggregate result, Mitchell still in front. I remind you that he's well down in this race, but as long as he can keep the pace going, his pit board will be telling him that with the 2 sets of times added together, he's doing enough to win the race, the 250cc Shell Oil Super Cup overall here at Snetterton. But a lot of busy activity fighting through. Martin Jupp as well was in the thick of the traffic there, but these are the first and second places. Alan Carter, Woolsey Coulter still in the slipstream. The rest of it really busy. We'll take a look as they come up past the start finish. It's Paul Lewis up to third. Then it's Martin Jupp. So Martin Jupp more than justifying Mick Grant of the Suzuki team's faith in him, delivering the goods on the brand new RGV 250 Suzuki. So quite a nice bike, and Suzuki not recognised as a 250 bike until this year.
No, that's right. Here we have Kevin Mitchell there, number 8. He's gradually pulling through this field, but he's got some work to do. He'll be trying to get a slipstream down this straight. You see he's tucked in there. One more position taken as they break to go into the S's.
Kevin Mitchell then on the charge. He is now, in my reckoning, in 6th place. He's moving up, he's right behind Paul Brown, number 34. He's in the thick of the traffic, but certainly now Kevin Mitchell has woken up and realised that he has a job to do. There's Paul Brown, there's Kevin Mitchell right with him. Ahead of Paul Brown is number 4, Martin Jupp from Cannock in Staffordshire on the Suzuki. He fell off it twice in practice and once again in this morning's session. In fact, Martin Jupp qualified on Jamie Whittam's bike. That was permitted, the organisers allowed him to do that. They switched the numbers and he went out and qualified on his teammate's bike. But first and second, Alan Carter and Woolsey Coulter. Well, Steve, this really shaping up now. Whilst these two are having a good scrap, it's developing further behind them.
Yeah, Woolsey Coulter seems to be sitting there quite comfortably. He's not losing any ground and he's not gaining any ground, which seems rather strange that he hasn't tried to make a passing manoeuvre. So maybe we're going to see him go for that last lap dash at the inside as they break at the end of the straight. So they're on the last lap now. Is he going to take the inside line here? Does he even know it's the last lap? If he's had good pit signals, he will, but he's trying for the outside line, which will bring him to the inside line at this tight corner. Yeah, perfect. Well-executed move on the power. But Carter's gone back up the inside into the S's. What a race.
Well, that was great stuff. We're now into the last quarter of this lap. So Alan Carter and Woolsey Coulter are now approaching Coram Curve, which is a fourth gear, 100-mile-an-hour plus right-hander, and Woolsey Coulter doing everything he knows. Let's hope they don't tangle and get in each other's way here at the hairpin. My goodness, this is a brilliant race. It's about the sprint to the line. Carter and Woolsey Coulter. Woolsey Coulter's alongside. He might just get it up the flag. He does. Woolsey Coulter takes it from Alan Carter. A brilliant race. Over then goes Paul Lewis. Kevin Mitchell appeared to be in fifth. We will give you the confirmation, but I guess Kevin Mitchell has done enough to take the overall win. It looks as though Mitchell is the winner. A great result, but what a scrap at the restart. These two gave the crowd their money's worth. Confirmation of a breathtaking 250cc finish. Kevin Mitchell did indeed get the overall win from Alan Carter, only just. Brown was there. What a super ride for Paul Brown. Woolsey Coulter, Paul Lewis and Adrian Clark.
So